welcome back. Today I wanted to share with you a video about my lenses and my camera and basically equipment video. I was going to make that video a long time ago, but I always thought like I need to gather my thoughts a little bit more and just think about it, what I wanted to say. I had a lot of thoughts going through my head for the last few weeks, so I think I'm finally ready to share with you. So when I started back in 2007, around that time, 2006-07, my first camera was Canon 350D, which was a crop camera, very basic. The digital was on the market for some time, but it just started this kind of affordable line, so it was very exciting. I had this kit lens with it. I can't even remember what it was. It was a little kind of zoomy thing, very basic. And then I decided to buy 24-70 lens as an L version, and that's the one. It doesn't come off my camera very often. That's the lens. So lens is amazing. This is, I can't tell you praises enough how much I love this lens. I had this lens as one of my first, I think that was my first bought additional lens for the camera, and that pretty much stayed on it all the time. That's different camera, by the way, but I'll go to that bit in a second. So crop camera, obviously it does changes the image a little bit. So the same lens, everything will be a little bit closer. So this 24-70, 2.8, that means the aperture go down to 2.8. It's not maybe ultra wide open like some of the other here, like for example this Canon 51.2, when you can really blur that background and reduce the depth of field. But it's amazing, honestly. It works for portraits, it works for anything, and that's the lens I use at the moment to photograph newborns. Families maybe not, I'll come to that in a second, but it's brilliant. I had it so many years, and it has been in calibration because I do send my cameras and my lenses to calibration and make sure they are in a top tip shape and the software for cameras as well. So I can't tell you enough how much I love that lens. It is not cheap, but it's just lasted all those years. It's been the workhorse for every session, and I use that lens in the studio as well when I have a family sessions in the studio or maternity. That's my lens to go. I just can't take it off my camera. It comes with a hood, so you can take the hood off, and I use it without a hood in the studio, but outdoors it kind of reduces the glare into the lens. It is quite heavy. You can definitely feel the quality inside. I know that after this version, the Mark 1 and Mark 2, I think Mark 2 was released, but I'm still using this one. The thing is with the lenses, they last you for years, and I know that some people, some photographers, some Russian photographers, they even hunt for very old vintage sort of lenses and trying to do magical stuff with them, because you can get them into very wide open, get a gorgeous bokeh and stuff like that. But I'm trying not to divert from my topic. So I set them up in sort of level at which point I was buying them. So that was my first lens. After I had my 350D, which I was successfully shooting weddings with it, I was shooting families, I was shooting lots of things, not newborns because newborns came later, but I do ironically shoot with this lens newborns. After that I bought a backup camera which was 400D, so it's an upgrade. It's I can't remember honestly. I think it was still crop sensor. I'm not 100% sure. I think that was my full frame that came after. So I was shooting lots of weddings again with those two cameras, and the reason I had two cameras is basically backup, because if something goes wrong with one, you always have the other one to fall into. Sometimes I would put lenses, different lenses on two different cameras and kind of have two cameras ready, and I was doing that before even those braces came out, which I have, but I don't shoot weddings at the moment, so they're not very useful right now. Anyways, that was good lens, and I decided to buy, while I still had my crops, I bought 85 millimeters 1.8, which is a little bit heavier than normal standard lens. And it was supposed to give me that beautiful bokeh. It's supposed to give me lovely portraits of that compression of the image, so everything looks beautiful. And to be honest with you, it was a good lens in the beginning. I don't use it anymore. Not sure why, because I just have other choices, so this one kind of just sits there. But it was good at the beginning, really good. Then I was reading more about lenses, trying to find out what I can change, what I can get. I can't remember, I think I did change the camera at that point, so I upgraded, and it was a massive deal for me because it was lots of money at the time, but the time has come. The other camera was, I could feel it was at the end of its life. And trust me, I have really used the life out of it, and I moved into 5D Mark II, which is not this one. Mark II, currently my other half uses it. I kind of lend it to him to have a play with, but this one came after. So this is 5D Mark IV, and that was a big deal for me. That was a massive deal. When it was time to upgrade, it's always such a big spend, and you feel like you have to really justify to move up to the next level. So the previous camera, Mark II, was a great one because it was full frame, so every lens you could feel like you have the most of it. It had a great depth because the sensor was full, so great quality was recorded. Okay, I can talk about this for a long time, so let me just get to the point. So after I have upgraded into 5D Mark IV, which was a massive celebration for me and wonderful time, and I still think that I don't need to upgrade to anything else. I don't think there is anything above that at the moment in that line. It just lasts for at least 10 years. The camera body should last you a long time. It really depends as well what sort of work you do. If you do a lot of weddings and the shutter click count will be huge, that might be a different story than if you just shoot maybe family portraits, newborns, etc. So it really depends on the amount of images you're clicking through. But normally wedding photographers also have two cameras, so it kind of halves down. It really depends. So after that 85, I decided to buy Nifty 50, which is basically 50 millimeters, and it is 1.8. This very light lens, and it is something I would recommend for a total beginner. It does feel super light. It feels like it's a toy, because I later on I bought the 50 1.2 L series USM, and the difference is huge. And it's not just the quality of image, but the heaviness of it. And the kind of the heavier is, the more quality glass it is. That's what I heard. I'm not completely sure about that, but from kind of what I've done and I went through, it seems to be proving right. So this is very different to that one. But on the beginning, if you're on a budget, this lens is very relatively inexpensive, and it's definitely great to buy in the beginning. So it's 51.8, and it's great for portraits. You don't have to step back too far. Really nice little lens when you start out. Then I have attended, before I attended Elena Shumilova workshop, I decided to buy a zoom lens, which is Sigma 70 to 200 and goes down to 2.8, which is heavy. It is like a baby weight. Seriously, it is extremely heavy. And when you put that hood as well, there's like a tele lens, very heavy, including the camera. Honestly, you can feel that on your bicep, on your shoulder. So I had a kind of love-hate relationship with this lens, and I feel like I can now part with it. I honestly can. And let me tell you, on the beginning, it gives you gorgeous bokeh. You have to zoom out to the 200 to get that effect. So you have to be at a really far distance from your subject, which can be sometimes a bit difficult, especially if you shoot families and you have to have that engagement with them. It can be quite tricky when you need to, they need to see your face, they need to hear you. You have to step back quite far away. The good thing about this, it has a stabilization. The bad thing is you still have to have setting on at least 1/500 of a second. So it has to be quite light to use that lens. If it's dark, no good. So outdoors, probably a good one, but it depends who you're photographing. If you have a pregnant lady which can hear you and there's no stress about maintaining the dynamic of the session, like a family one when you have to engage and have a contact, then it might be fine. But I'm a little bit fed up because it's very sensitive to any movement. So like I said, it has to be at least 1/500 of a second setting, not to get any shake, and you have to be really steady. And when it's such a long zoom lens and you have your heavy body as well, it's so easy to get a camera shake. So this is something I would not recommend basically, unless you want to give it a try. I'm not sure. So Sigma, I bought Sigma because at the time lots of people were buying those. They were praising these over Canon, and I thought I'll give it a go. So I'm happy to part with this one. Not sure after this review if anyone will buy it of me. So hopefully there's nothing wrong with it. It's been calibrated and looked after very, very, very well. I look after my equipment. So moving up to the next one, this one has everything to do with newborns. It's Tokina, and it's 100 f2.8. This little lens is macro, is a specific macro lens, and when I first got it, I was a little bit perplexed. I was, so how do you use that? And oh no, you only can do manual, which I was terrified. So as you can see, it has a little ring here, and it says AF/MF, and then I discovered that you just push it down or out to change the mode from automatic to manual focusing. And that was a little bit different. I've never seen that in a lens, but that's the way it works. And again, it was quite an expensive lens comparing to Canon brand, and all I needed was a decent macro lens which will give me those beautiful close-ups of a baby feet, baby hands and eyes, and gorgeous images like that. And I had to learn to shoot with it, because you don't treat it exactly the same a lens like your normal lens. you have to change the settings a little bit. So you would increase the aperture, I mean the number. So you will go, instead of being wide open 2.8, I would go somewhere around 5.6 or higher. And then I'll have to compensate that with my studio lights. I'll have to twist the light up. It's because it has such a shallow depth of field, it will be just a teeny tiny bit in focus and the rest will be completely blurred, especially when you get really close to the subject, to the baby. But I still wanted to show that beautiful compression, macro effect, but in a slightly wider depth of field, if that makes sense. So I had to learn how to use that one, and I use that on almost every, if not every session, newborn session. It's been a while because I haven't photographed a newborn for 3 months now, guys. It's been special circumstances, but hopefully at some point we'll be back to work. I can't wait, but obviously safety is the priority, so we need to hold on. So next one is Sigma 35. And this one goes into 1.4. It's a special Sigma Art version, which has a special range from Sigma that gives it something wow. It has a little A letter here, as you can see, and these are slightly less expensive than Canon, but are really, really good. And they became very popular among the newborn photographers, especially that 35. And I did have a go. I did try it with newborns. I just didn't like it. It was too wide. I had to go really close to the subject. Where with my 24/7, I get much nicer compression, much better results. So what I like about this lens. Obviously, if you're in a session environment, you can give it a wider context. You can show area more. You can go really close to subjects if you want to create a good relationship with them. You can get really close or from above. I love those shots. I do sometimes change during the session from my 135, which we get in a second. For that, I really like that lens. But studio, not so much, because then you have your backdrop and so much else to edit after. So this one's not so good for studio. Great for outdoors. It's got a lovely color dynamic range, and it looks good. The only issue is if you do video with it, if you do any video with your DSLR and this lens, there's a little hack. You need to change something, otherwise you're going to see this kind of net across, so just bear that in mind. But if you Google that Sigma 35 video, why it doesn't work, it'll come up with a whole tutorial. So just to let you know, because I've done that mistake. I've done a lovely video in aquarium, I think we went, but sadly it was not good because of those lines. Never mind, you learn on mistakes. That's the best way to learn, because at least you can practice stuff. As long as it's not somebody's wedding, guys, or commercial shoot or anything like that, that's fine. So practice on your own family or friends and you'll be okay. So next one, when I was training with very good photographer Wojtek Hrapek, he introduced me to this 50 to 1.2 lovely lens, very expensive, and I'm still kind of using it a little bit, then taking it off. I can't glue to it, and I noticed the only thing I don't like it on a very open aperture. So if I go to 1.2 wide open, and it's a very sunny day, I can see some fringing on the some funny colors on the edges of things, which is not good. So color aberration is not great on these. Maybe it's just that lens, maybe I'm wrong. If you have that lens and you haven't got a problem with the wide open, let me know. Maybe there's something not quite right with this one. Anyway, it's the L series, all the L series, like a nice strong quality. So I love this one, but on and off, on and off. And a last one is my latest baby, which I have for some time now. It's 135. Got a little hood on right now. Let me take a hood off. And this is something I got the substitute of this Sigma 70 to 200. And look what a difference that is. And pretty much they do the same thing. And I think, to be honest, that one makes it even better. 135, it goes down to, so it's a brilliant portrait, a family's lens, especially now when you have to be at a certain distance. It's a wonderful lens to have. And it's a lens that doesn't extend, it's just a constant. It's only at 135, so you definitely need to use your legs walking backwards and forwards, which is fine by me. But you have that gorgeous compression. You have the, oh, it's very light. As for it lets lots of light in. You can take it outside, you can shoot inside, maybe not so much because you have to be at the distance if you have a big studio, and I'm very jealous because my studio is only little, but if you can, yeah, sure, you can use that in the studio as well. It's lovely. I wish I have bought that before, earlier. I wish I bought that instead of that big Sigma 70 to 200, and it's super sharp. I love it. It's just my favorite lens, just after my good old trusty 24 to 70, because that will never come out of my camera. I think I'll have that forever. The other day I was thinking, what would happen if, touch wood, I would break 24 to 70? I would just replace it without even thinking about it, because that's the best lens I've ever had, and that's the best lens I'll ever have, I think. But this one gives you just that extra beautiful. I'll put some pictures here for you so you can see how I use that. And it just makes everything gorgeous and gives you that beautiful bokeh. Everything is blurry behind the subject, and you'll have sharpness, and it's just great. So these are my lenses and my camera. My other camera is somewhere else, but I explained which I use. So if I had to, for example, reduce amount of lenses and stuff I have, I would definitely still choose my 5D Mark IV. It's a fantastic camera. It also takes great videos. Then I would keep 135 and probably that macro for newborns, but it's not necessary. So if I had to keep top two, that would be 24-70 and 135. And honestly, I think I could get away not having all the other ones because it's just extras. Especially I could just sell at this point. I think I'm gonna put up for sale 70 to 100, 85, and my old nifty 50. My old nifty 50 I only keep because my other half uses it for my old camera basically. So I'm keeping that one for him, but I could easily sell these. These are good to have. That 50, I think I'm still gonna have a good play with it. Sigma 35 is great to have for your extra wide shots and going closer to those family, especially kind of overhead shots. I like to have that, and obviously that one. So these are kind of, okay, I'll stick with these. I will be at loss if I sold them now, but these I think I might say goodbye to and just keep it minimal, keep it what I need, not accumulate stuff just for sake of it. Yeah, that's my review. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if that was useful for you. Let me know what lenses, what equipment you have got, or what you're thinking about getting. Maybe I'll be able to help you. I don't know anything about Sony, sorry, mirrorless system. I don't know much about kind of a hybrid crossover camera, so Canon is definitely my speciality, the equipment I use basically, I know more about. Nikon, again, I don't know much about, so if you have Canon question, I'll be more than happy to help, and maybe with some Nikon, maybe something there is I would help you with. I hope you enjoyed that, and see you next time, guys. Bye!